Hello, my intrepid band of terrorists. It's Brian here, and I'm back with probably quite a quick video, which is going to be a flip through of these 3 Marseilles decks. Those of you who watched my Confessions of a Tarot Addict video will know that I received these 3 decks in the bumper box of 16 decks that I bought on eBay, which I was absolutely delighted with. And one of the things I said that I was really pleased about actually was receiving these 3 Marseilles decks, because I'll say up front that I'm certainly not an expert in the Marseilles deck by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to rely on those of you who are watching this video to fill in some of the gaps in my knowledge, because I'm not going to be able to say a huge amount about these decks. The reason I'm doing this video, it's actually a viewer request, and it's from the lovely Jane at My Life and Tarot, who said, please will you show us more of the Marseilles deck that was the middle one that you showed in your Confessions of a Tarot Addict video, which was this one here. And so I am going to do that, but I thought it would be fun to compare the deck with these 2, which I also received in the same box. Now, just by way of introduction, as I say, I know very little about these decks. What I can tell you from what I've managed to find out is, and also based on what's on the boxes in terms of publishing, but this is the Grimaud edition of the Tarot of Marseille, and I believe that it was originally published in 1970. I don't know if this is a 1970 edition of the deck, although certainly the box is fairly scrappy and has been sellotaped together, so it could well be. And apparently this was has cleaned up versions of the original woodcuts, and it printed, as you can see, in hues of primary red, yellow and blue. If you look on Eclectic Tarot, you'll see a version of this deck which looks very similar in terms of the images, although some of the lettering on the cards is slightly different, so this might be a slightly later edition. So that's what I can tell you about that particular deck. The other deck that's on this side, I can tell you, is a Fournier copy of the Tarot de Marseille, and according to Eclectic, again, it says the Fournier published Tarot de Marseille sticks fairly closely to the traditional symbolism, but uses much more blended, rich, flowing colour than the early woodcuts, and the background colours are also a modern addition, and you can see from the cover of the box that is indeed the case. This is what the full looks like, much more colourful than the traditional Marseille decks. So far so good, and this one I think was originally published in about 1983. I think that's what Eclectic says, although I think this edition might be from 1992, again just judging from information on the box. Now, the one that Jane wanted to see, this is the one that I can find out very little about, either because my research skills aren't very good or because there isn't a huge amount of information available. What I have been able to find out is that there is a version of this with the same line drawings but slightly different colouring, which was created by Stuart Kaplan and published by US Games, although this one is published by AGM Muller. And that was called the Tarot Classic, and was a full colour reproduction of the 18th century woodcuts by Claude Burdell. However, I don't think this is exactly the same, because if you go on Eclectic, and I'll put these links below, you'll see that the colouring is slightly different. In this edition, what you see, I haven't got it here yet, but we'll see it in a second, is that the magician has a blue table in front of him in the version on Eclectic, but in this edition the table is yellow. But the line drawings are the same, and they're very distinctive. They don't really look exactly the same as the woodcut style of the others, although they are based on woodcuts, but they're a different style. Anyway, all will be revealed when I actually show you the decks and stop waffling on. So let me just first of all show you what came in each of the respective boxes. So in this one we didn't get very much, I don't think. This is the one that came, this had a kind of little booklet. Again, it gives you an idea of how old this deck is, partly because it's very scrappy, but that's what came there. This is the back of that edition, and maybe I should put the editions a bit closely so you can see. Let me just show you first of all what we're talking about. So this is the Grimaud This is the the mysterious Tarot de Marseille, and the Fournier is here. And here are what the backs look like. Okay, and we'll turn over and begin to see what the cards are like. So in the Grimo we have an introductory card, as we do on this one. Oh, I think there's a little booklet there as well. And here we have a coloured introductory card. So let's get the boxes out of the way and we'll look at the decks themselves. So I'll get rid of that. Oops, get rid of that book. Okay, so not really much to say there, just information about the deck and information here about the various different decks. This one, this has some writing on it which says Design, I don't speak French, but Design traditionnel renforcé par un suggestif et beau coloris. If that's terrible French, but I guess that's saying traditional designs that have been spruced up a bit with colour. Oh, well, here we are. It would have been helpful if I'd looked at this a bit sooner, because here is indeed the English translation. Traditional designs reinforced by a suggestive and beautiful colouring. Okay, so on with the decks. Now, you'll see, of course, that the style across all three of these is very recognisably Marseille, but is also rather different in the way that it's executed. I would say that these two look most similar. They seem to be based on the same style of woodcut, whereas this has its own unique style, which may well be why Jane wanted to see it. So there's not really much more I can tell you about these, so I think the best thing for us to do would be to just flip through the cards so you get to see. I'm going to try and do this without getting myself in a terrible mess, because I haven't got much space here, so I'm going to try and keep the cards together as I flip through them. And normally, of course, as I do this, I'd be giving you all kinds of information about the cards and all the imagery and so on, but because I don't want to pretend that I'm an expert in the Marseille tradition, I'm actually just going to go through the cards so you can see and compare, and if any card is of particular interest to you, please feel free to pause the video and make some comparisons. And what we'll do is we'll go through the major arcana just as I'm doing here, and then once we've done that, I'll show you a selection of the pip cards. Now you see, this is where I'm going to get, yes, that's right, bear with me, this is going to test my spatial awareness to its limit. So what we're going to do is just go through the major arcana so you can see the differences. That is a very unusual looking lion. I will give it that. So yes, we'll go through these images so you can see them, and then we'll have a look at the pip cards and we'll have a look at the court cards, and you'll get a sense of what differences there are, if any. And please, if you have information about Marseille decks generally that you would like to share, and about these specific decks in particular, then please do. And it would be interesting to know more about this deck. As I say, it seems to be based on specific woodcuts, 18th century woodcuts by Claude Burdel. So any information on those and why they are different to the others would be welcome. I've actually been working through Tom Benjamin's fantastic book Tarot on Earth, which uses pip cards as its basis, and oh, that snuck in there, and where are we on? We're on Judgment. Keep up, Brian. And he uses in that, well, on the cover of the book, it's illustrated by the wonderful Marshmallow Marseille. And of course, there are a number of new Marseille style decks that are on the market now. There's Marshmallow Marseille, there's the Triomphe de la Luna from Deviant Moon, there's a Polka Tarot. So there's lots and lots to choose from. So again, if you have a favourite Marseille, then please do let us know. So here we are with the 3 Ace of Swords, and we'll have a look at the pip card. I won't go through all of these because that would be a bit tedious for you, but just so you get a sense of what the pip cards look like in each of the decks. So let's now shoot ahead to the, well, there's the 10 and the 10 and the 10. Okay, so let's go on to the courts, the swords. So here we have the knaves, the knights, the queens. Kinder faces in these. I like the faces in this middle deck. There's something slightly gentler about them. The kings. And we have the Ace of Cups, again, very different style in this middle deck. Very nice. Very nice, more ornate imagery here. So those are the cups. Well, again, I'm not going to flip through all of these, so let's just have a look at the courts now in the cups. Okay, so there we have the knaves. Oh, I think I've missed the pages, haven't I? Oh well. Here's the knight. Oh, see, I've got slightly confused here, so we'll just go straight to the queen. If in doubt, go straight to the queens. So there we are, the Queen of Cups and the Kings. If you could see what's out of camera range, you would see that I now have 3 teetering piles of Marseille decks, all that are a bit wobbly next to me, and I'm standing up leaning over my desk. I've got a slightly better camera setup than usual, but it's slightly uncomfortable for me because I'm standing up and bending over, and my back is beginning to feel it, and I'm slightly nervous I'm going to knock all the cards flying in one go, which I'm sure would be highly entertaining for you, but wouldn't be much fun for me. So I'm going to try not to do that. So we're on to the batons, and again I'm going to flip ahead. I'm going to try and not miss out the poor knave this time. The pages always get a bit of a rough deal, I think. They're kind of the forgotten court cards. See, I'm waffling now. So there we are. Are we still in range of camera? That would be good if we were. So there we are, the knaves. The knights. See, I'm almost getting into a flow now that we're nearly at the end. The queens. Yeah, again, just very similar expressions here, but there's something different here. She's looking, well, for a start, she's looking right at us. This is an enchanting deck. I must say, I like it very much. The king, and then we're on to the final suit, the coins. Worth having a look at the twos, of course, because they're always so ornate. These, much more ornate. So again, let's just zip ahead and we'll finish. Oh, one thing to say is, as is traditional for coins, this deck doesn't have numbered coins, and I've read somewhere that this is because, well, one of the theories is that because coins were meant to be easily numbers of coins were meant to be easily grasped just by looking at the numbers, because we use coins every day. I don't know how true that is, but certainly in this deck, and as is traditional, there's no numbering. In this deck you see the 5 up there, and in this deck it is tucked away here at the bottom. So that is, oh dear, sorry, banging you. So those are, see, we are beginning to have the Leaning Tower of Marseille decks now. So 8, are we on 8? There we are, 8, 9. Can you hear the relief in my voice as we're getting towards the end of this, so that I know that I'm not going to completely send everything flying. There are the 10s and knaves. The knights. Queens. markings. So that is my flip through of the Grimaud Marseille, the Fournier Marseille, and the mysterious Marseille that's sometimes known as the Tarot Classic, but here is called just Tarot de Marseille, published by AGM Muller, requested by Jane. So thank you very much for bearing with me through this slightly scatterbrained flip through, and as I say, please share below any information you have about any of these decks or anything you want to say about the Marseille version of tarot decks, and perhaps information about your favourite version of Marseille, including any new versions that you have acquired recently and that you want to tell us about. And until we're back again, which I hope will be very soon, take care everyone, and yes, have a good rest of the day, evening, night, whatever time it is with you when you're watching this. All the best. Bye.